thinking, could it be that way? Like we could have like a hiring process, and then we can implement it in Salesforce, and then we can attach undecided students, and then they can kind of they get paired up with somebody who's been hired. I'm not sure if it.
So what you've done is you've taken an inexpensive electronic solution and now you've made it a very expensive staffing solution.
Oh, okay.
We want to go the other direction. What we want to do is, let's say that this is kind of like Google for UW Stout, or no, better than that, Amazon. When you buy stuff on Amazon, it says, here are other products that we suggest
Like
to you.
similar, yeah.
So again, how do people in advising figure that out? So can you take some of their process, some of the information that they provide, some of the questions that they ask, and do that electronically?
Okay.
Is that making sense? Yeah, we'd like less staff rather than more. So here's just one very high level thing. What do you expect your starting salaries after college are going to be?
Honestly,
If it's under 20, then you shouldn't have gone to college.
No.
yeah.
I was hoping 60, but I think I'm going to end up with 30,
Not
30, 35.
Depends on where you go for
Yep.
one,
Yeah.
but 40 to 50 is what I've read.
Yeah, like based off of the data that they
Yeah.
provide usually, or through talking with
Okay.
program directors.
So number one, location, very important. IT careers in the Eau Claire region, which would include Dunn County, Menominee, Lowell, an hour to the west, Twin Cities Market, maybe 40% higher. Washington DC, New York City, 3 times higher because cost of living drastically affects starting salary. Salary is only one cost. Fringe benefits, health insurance, taxes, Social Security, workman's comp, unemployment insurance, all these other things, add about 1/3 to whatever the base salary is. So when you're talking, 30 grand, it's gonna cost your business 45 to hire you. So that's where, when we get into staffing issues here at the college, you think, oh yeah, well, the position only pays 20,000. Well, no, it's really 28.
Well, if you
Yeah.
paid students minimum wage,
Doesn't matter.
doesn't matter.
No. And part of it too is that if you're paying a student minimum wage and they have no skill in advising, do they do more harm than good?
Yeah.
So again, what I would really like to have is something that's some sort of expert system. So kind of like going back to Amazon, the analytics, how does Amazon know that if I bought these 3 things that I really probably want to look at this thing too? So those are the types of things that you want to find out from the advisors is, what questions do they ask and how does it help them guide a prospective student or a, undeclared student into what they should be in. So then the other thing I was going to say is just kind of side note. I don't know how to say this delicately, so I'm going to just be blunt about it. Your salary, long-term career-wise, is influenced by 2 factors. Number one, what can you negotiate as the top best salary in your early career? That normally means that if you want to have high salary, you have to live in really expensive places. But because you've earned that salary before, so if you get a job out in New York City and you're making $60K in your first job, and then you interview in the Minneapolis market.
But you're already making that much.
But you're already
Yeah.
making 60K and you say, well, I don't want to go down in salary. Well, yeah, in the Twin Cities market, you might only be worth 35, but you're coming from New York and people think that you're worth them 60. Number 2 is years of continual employment. This is where women typically in the workforce really get dinged. Because if you step out even temporarily of the workforce, your employment clock resets to 0. If you are out of work between jobs, your experience clock resets to 0. Don't ever get frustrated at a job and quit and then try and look for a job. Always get the new job and then leave. Because if you have any gaps in your employment, That's a big red flag for people, and part of it too is that if you step out of the workforce, especially in a technology field, things change so rapidly.
Mhm.
People say, well, they're out of date. You know, not only aren't they current, but we're gonna have to retrain them, they're just not worth it. Or if we do hire them, we're gonna hire them at significantly less because they don't have that years of continual experience. So that's just something, you know, salary-wise to consider, since you're all graduating, right?
Mhm.
Oh, I got another
Not
year.
next
Okay.
year.
Okay,
2021, ideally.
okay,
I'm graduating.
okay. So you especially.
Yeah.
But you two should kind of think in the back of your minds, you know, of how this plays. And also, it might be worth, you know, have you ever had your internship
This
experience?
summer.
I
will.
can't get one. I've applied for like over 40 now, and I rarely get any responses back. And then when I do, it's like the generic email. We're considering other employees at this time.
Okay.
It's like, so.
Well,
And then I've been career services 4 times to get my resume real.
have they given you any feedback on why that might be happening?
No, I visited Liz Julian. She's tied to my major, and then we just went over my resume over and over, and that's about it. I haven't out of those like over 40 jobs, I only got 6 interviews, phone interviews, and those I got declined too. So it's kind of like I'm not sure what the issue is, but
Okay.
I was thinking interview skills, but I only got 6 calls out of the.
Well, one of the things that I would strongly recommend is find some people to partner with and practice your interviews. So it's like playing piano, you know. If you're asked to perform and you just haven't done it very much, you're probably gonna be clumsy in it. So even if it's a friend and you say, you know, don't tell me what the questions are, but go out and try and find some questions that, you know, I would probably be asked in an interview. Ask me them, tape record it so that we can both kind of review, you know, what happened, and then just give me some feedback. Because sounding confident in an interview is normally 3/4 of it. You know, I don't wanna say bluff your way through, but be confident about what you can deliver. And for anything that you don't have, say, you know, I'm really excited about that, I've heard about that, I'm, you know, very anxious to learn more about that, and I'm very confident that I could handle that situation. So just, where I was heading those then in the internship experience, that would be another thing, is to really try and maximize that and, you know, make friends and contacts and try and get connections in LinkedIn, so that even once you're done there, that you might be able to network for job opportunities, or at least have those people give you recommendations on LinkedIn. I mean, that has become such an influential thing. A lot of companies are doing 90% of their recruiting through LinkedIn only. They
Mhm.
don't post ads, they don't visit campus, they just say, you know, we're gonna recruit through LinkedIn because we're paying a lot of money to be at those business level memberships. So leverage that if possible. So, anything else for me right now? Questions, concerns, panics?
We want to have, so our plan is to meet with those people for marketing and get this sorted out, and then meet with you next week, is your preference?
What I would like to do is I wanna have a face-to-face meeting at least every 2 weeks.
Okay.
When you make decisions or when you have questions or things that are blocking you, I wanna have emails that copy everyone in, and then we can all be on the same page. I would much rather get lots of frequent emails so that I can respond back and let you keep on going rather than holding up your progress. But it's not just marketing, but it's also the advisement center.
Right.
For that project. And what, you know, you may decide after tonight is, you know, yeah, that idea is a really good idea, but it sounds really hard and it may take too long to, you know, do the interviews that we need. So that's one thing you need to discuss. Earlier, as I said, you know, if you decide that what you have so far sucks either way, but you've come up with yet a third idea, don't be afraid to pitch that, but I wanna have it very well developed by the time you present to me again.
Right, okay. You do want an email, though, of us telling you what we decided by next week?
Yeah, and I
Right,
wanna have
okay.
it really fleshed out.
Yep.
And, you know, make sure that it talks about the financial aspect of why should the university care, and also the scope of what you're actually able to deliver, because I wanna have you tell me what are you gonna have at the end of the semester. So you really need to think a lot about what can you technically handle. Who's the SME?
The Shmi, oh yeah. Yeah, we're supposed to have another guy, Mike.
Which
and
is a problem we're dealing with
Yeah.
the PMs and Devin right now. So.
he only showed up for one class, and we constantly communicating with him, and we told him like we're meeting with the PMs every.
So here's what I would suggest. At this stage of the game, if that person missed tonight's meeting, that's a critical error on their part. I would talk with not only student program managers, but also CC or instructor and say, this person was disrespectful to our client by not making this important meeting. They have not been responsive in their communication. We feel that our project would be in jeopardy if this person is a member of our team. And I think that's fair.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know, and Evan has told me in the past that I can fire teams, which means that they will fail the course. So if they are disrespectful or they don't get stuff done, I can contact him or Cammie and say, it's not working. And I haven't actually gone all that way, but I have had the come to Jesus moment with one team in the past saying, you know, it's been weeks, I haven't heard back from you, I don't even know what you're doing. If you were an actual vendor, I would cancel the contract and maybe litigate, you know, so don't let your grading the course be affected by someone who's not wanting to be part of the team.
Yeah, they said stick it out until next week, like that's what the PM said, but they did say like let them know if he doesn't show up to the meeting tonight, because he was copied in the emails and stuff like that. So we're gonna do that, obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What I would say is that you can safely tell the student program managers that the instructor should be aware that the client was very disappointed in that member not being here and found that it was disrespectful.
Okay. Will do.
And they can always check with me and I'll back you up on that. All right, the one last thing I want to say, just to be clear, is that I'm not your instructor, I'm not going to issue a grade. However, I do give feedback about how well things have been going. As I gave in the presentation, the thing that I care most about is honesty and sincerity. Don't bluff me, don't cover. If you're running into problems, this is an educational experience. With my real vendors, if they hit a stumbling block, and I can get them over the hump, I'm gonna do it because in the long run, it's gonna save me money, because I'm not gonna have to pay them extra to do something that I could do for them. And also, it's not gonna derail the whole project, which means that we've wasted all the money on the project that we spent so far. So don't be afraid to get in contact with me. I know that you've also got a super SME that's supposed to be available, but they're only available in the early part of the course. And I think that there is a deadline for when you can ask for their assistance. So again, if you're at a point where you're hitting stumbling blocks and you need to keep going, don't be afraid to reach out. I may say, you know, I don't have expertise, I can't help in that, but if I do have an ability, I will try and give some guidance. And I won't do the work, but I may give you suggestions on how to proceed, if that makes sense. And I think your super SME is the same as that. They're not gonna do your project, they'll say, here are the
Yeah.
programs. Okay, cool. Anything else for the good of the order?
Yeah. Do you want that picture of the
I
three
would
of
like
us?
to have a team profile thing and also kind of a more formalized version of whatever
Yep.
you choose.
Okay.
And again, that's just kind of a expectation of vendors, is that I know who's gonna be working on it, and what we're agreeing to, because if I'm spending budget, I need to be able to defend what are we actually paying for. I need something very specific, formal, that has a specific set of deliverables in it.
Okay. You bet.
And then in the future too, I think that we had only scheduled half an hour, but for most meetings, please schedule a full hour, and then if we don't need that time, we can leave early. But like tonight, there was a lot more conversation that needed to take place.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Cool, yeah.
All right, great. And now you know where my office is.